Hello, Barra soccer fans, and welcome to another episode of Spillin the Beans. No intro tonight. We'll get stuck straight in, and we'll meet our wonderful guests.
Meet the gang 'cause the boys are here, the boys to entertain you.
Who've we got sat there? Let's have a look. Fraser, couldn't keep away. We had you on last week, and you're back already.
Yes, I am. Been to Spennymoor over the weekend, which I'll no doubt enlighten you more with over the duration of the podcast.
Yeah, nice to see you. You made it out alive.
Just about.
And Dave, you're back on the podcast once again. You didn't go to Spennymoor, did you, Dave? And normally when you don't go to the football, you're doing something dreadful with the family. Any exciting things this weekend?
I was actually in Italy. It was half term, so took the family across to Italy. So we landed back in Manchester about 1:30-ish. So as soon as we got back in the car, BBC Sounds, the wondrous creation that is BBC Sounds, we were able to get Adam's dulcet tones from the brewery field and listen to him and Craig on the M6 on the way back up, and final score and all that sort of thing, and enjoyed the victory from the comfort of my own home for a change. But back on the terraces for the Grimsby game.
Good stuff. Well, let's get straight to it then.
That was the week that was. It's over. Let it go.
So we're in the velvet bag once again after we've avoided a potential banana skin. Dave, I won't call it a professional performance because I know that's been doing you nutting all weekend. But it was though, wasn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, it could have been. It was a really tricky tie on paper. Obviously Spennymoor are going well this season, and it's the sort of tie you look at and you think, oh, actually, there's potential for an upset there. But obviously I wasn't at the game, but from listening to it, we defended well. We obviously took our goals really well. Those through balls from Charlie McCann, by the way, bit of quality there, wasn't there? So yeah. Into the next round, that's all you can ask for, and obviously we've got a decent draw against Wigan. Well, I think it's decent anyway. I think some people have been moaning about it, but I think if you're not going to be at home against the crappiest team left in the draw, then you may as well go away somewhere relatively local that you've not been before. And yeah, it should be a good day out. Even if it's not another victory, we should put on a decent performance and have a good day out on the beer anyway.
Yeah, we'll come to that draw for the next round in a bit. Fraser, you was at the game. Give us a bit of a lowdown. In fact, tell us about your whole day because, it's quite a bit of cock involved, wasn't there?
Yes, lots and lots of cock involved. So I've got the metro from Whitley Bay to Newcastle. Had half a pint in the Centurion, Newcastle Central Station, and then got the train to Durham. I found a really nice micro pub called the Station House. I had a pint of German Pilsner in there before boarding a bus at Durham bus station, the number 6 to Cockfield. But I wasn't getting off in Cockfield or getting off in Spennymoor, so I sat on this bus for this knackered, clapped out old bus, probably similar to the one Punks took to Sunderland all those years ago, and found its way to Spennymoor and found the away end, got in there, was greeted by 2 inebriated Spennymoor Town volunteers who were just sort of couldn't quite figure out why none of the Barrow fans were from Barrow. Had a pint of Madry for my men's mental health behind some. They had like a fan zone where these barriers were covered in tarpaulin, so you couldn't see the pitch from this fan zone area. So it was like you're like trapped in this sort of really weird sort of like creche for fully grown men. Then found my way pitch side and had a really nice time. I just engrossed myself in the warm-up, which was interesting. I won't say. I think it was quite a sensible performance, really, to be honest. You could see where the opportunities where Spennymoor can make life difficult for us, and Glenn Taylor's header, which was tremendously saved by Stanway, and they were really up for it. I think the first half was less than ideal. I think we did well to get that goal before half time, but in the second half we were we were stronger, and it was great to see Kane Hemmings get on the score sheet 'cause he looked quite lively. But yeah, it's a good day out. Went back to this pub in Durham afterwards, met a chap whose great uncle played for Barrow back in the 1930s. Yeah, we're massive, aren't we? And then went home. Yeah, good day out. Good day out.
Fraser, you said you were stood pitch side. Can you just confirm for the tape that it wasn't you that grabbed hold of Dan Jones at the throw-in?
I was on the so basically the away end was split into like two sort of paddocks. So there was like one half where the miscreant was who interfered with with Dan Jones. Sounds rude. Interfered with the ball that Dan Jones was holding. I was on the other side where I think I was stood behind Isaac Fletcher's family. So I picked up a few things, like Canavan was quipping throughout the warm-ups, and I got to watch Rob Kelly really, really enthusiastically get the players G'd up for the game, and Kane Hemmings dobbing Charlie McCann in for diving, which is funny. So yeah, it was quite. I was in the well-behaved sort of section, I think.
I was sat behind Canavan and his wife and kids at Accrington, I think it was last year. How did you find that? Because I found him really kind of like moany, and it's just like being on the pop side. Like it's no different at all. Was he having a pop, or was he relatively jovial?
Yeah, he was. I don't know. He seems funny. He's funny. He just seems to be. He like, because Spennymoor was saying like how quiet our fans were, and I think we were fairly quiet, not because we were quiet, but because of the design of the ground. But he was when they were saying your support is not very good, he was replying, well, he said, well, half the away end's Fletcher's family, and I didn't even know if it was Fletcher's family, but was stood in front. But he was singing and quipping and bantering people off and all sorts. Yeah, he's an interesting character, I think.
He's a rare beast, isn't he, Canavan? He's a Yorkshireman with a sense of humour.
I won't go there. Just touch on some of the players a little bit, because I agree, the whole professional performance thing, I know we said it on the podcast last week, but we were referring to that tie against Banbury quite some time ago, which had a bit of a similar feel to it. And that one was more well managed, I think, than well played. If I remember correctly, it's a long time ago now, but this one, we're pretty shit hot at times. And, if you look at especially the goals and the build-up of play, and a couple of players really standing out at the moment, but you mentioned one there before who seems to be coming into his own now, is Charlie McCann. I mean, how good was he up close?
Yeah, he just sort of, I don't know, there's some players in the Spennymoor team who you could see have played sort of at this level or a higher level, but you could just see he was like I think him and Raglan in particular were like a cut above. He just, his pass for Whitfield, it was one of those, it was a proper high end sort of move where he picked out Whitfield's run, and Whitfield delivered the ball in for Hemmings. It's just, yeah, dead easy. He was the one who had the real bit of sort of quality. And for the first goal for Newby's deft lob over the goalkeeper, some old fella stood next to me. He was like, who made that pass? Who made that pass? I was like, I don't know, mate. I'm not the most observant in the world, but it's obviously McCann who played that like unreal sort of pass, which freed Newby, and I think it was an ideal time for us to score, because we're a bit iffy in the first half, I would say.
Yeah, just on Newby as well, Dave, because he's finding his scoring boots of late, isn't it? That's quite unusual for him. If you look at his course of his career at Barra, he wasn't really anything but prolific in terms of getting goals. It just seemed to be at times like he just, for the life of him, couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, and he's sort of not stopped of late.
Yeah, I mean, Elliot Newby's the sort of player, he'll always give you 100%. He'll always put a shift in. I think that's the sort of thing that's been recognised by, every manager or caretaker that we've had since he joined the club has kind of, giving him a decent amount of game time. So they obviously rate him. He obviously trains well. it's maybe the criticism you can have of him sometimes is that his outputs aren't quite as high as perhaps they could be in terms of either his final ball or, in fact, scoring himself. But yeah, the last couple of games, he's getting himself on the score sheet, and, fair play to him. I think he gets a lot of unwarranted stick at times, and I don't know whether that sometimes is because he's the local lad and he gets treated harshly. Sometimes I don't know. Should local lads get an easier ride? Should they get a harder ride? I don't know. I think for me, he puts a shift in. I don't, whether he's born in Barra or Bradford or Barbados. I don't really care as long as you put your shift in. I'll back you. You don't have to be the best player in the world. If you put a shift in, you get a thumbs up from me. And Elliot Newby does that, week in, week out. So yeah, good to see him getting a bit of glory at the minute, to be honest.
Do you think there's something different tactically there? He seems to be getting towards that back post a little bit more. Roland touched upon this on the podcast. I think for a long time, I'm going back to Mansfield at home in that dreadful April, under Pete Wild's, towards the end of the season. And when he was starting to play a bit more that kind of wing back, it sometimes just didn't know whether he was going forward or didn't know whether he was meant to be going back. And just, he seems to have late found his feet in that position, which is quite difficult at times, not knowing when to go, not knowing when to stick.
I think they mentioned it before the Walsall game, or probably in the post-match of Walsall, that they'd worked on getting bodies in the box at the far post, and it's something that we've probably not been great at as a team for the last couple of seasons, and that's, again, it's one of those things that reflects in the goals for column. We've not been the most prolific over the last few seasons, and part of that, I think, is due to bodies in the box. And I know I think Wing mentions it a few times about how, we get a lot of crosses in, but that's not, sticking a cross in's no good to you if it just flashes across the goal and, goes out for a throw in, or the full back picks it up. You've got to have people in the middle putting the defence under pressure, and whether that's a centre forward, whether it's the wing back coming from the other side, or someone coming through from midfield, the more options you've got in the box, the better your chance of getting a goal. And yes, whether it's something that's specifically worked on, or whether it's just something that's kind of a dint of fate of the way that the games have played out, I don't know. But long may it continue.
Yeah, let's move on from that and to the next round. The draw's always a nervy one because you get through that round, you're still in that kind of bag with teams where you're thinking the majority of them don't seem that appealing in terms of fixtures. It's really trying to get to that third round to see when it can get a little bit interesting. You're starting to think, do you want one of them non-league, lower league teams again to try and get an easy buy through? But that never seems like something you should wish for. And obviously Wigan come out, and like you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, some people seem to not be happy with that. I was pretty buzzing with it. And, well, put it this way, speaking to my older mate who lives down the street, when I bumped into him, they've got MK Dons away. So it could be so much worse. If you go through that list of the could have been fixtures, I think Wigan away is pretty good. So I'm certainly looking forward to that one. How about you, Fraser?
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, no, I think it's fine. I think it's more than fine. It'd be a good day out. It'd be a big travelling contingent there. There are quite a few teams in the first round, so quite a lot of League Two teams or lower than League Two teams knocking out League One teams. I think we knocked out Northampton. I think that was in the first round a few years ago, which is a really, really good result. So like. It is doable. I don't think they're in the greatest of form at the moment. I mean, things picked up a bit more when was it Ryan Lowe came in. I think it picked up last season, but it seems to have sort of plateaued a bit. So good day out. I mean, Wigan's got some like cracking pubs, and like I had zero plans of returning to Greater Manchester anytime soon, but I think I'll be making the journey across the Pennines for this one. It should be a really, really good day out. Yeah, I'm super looking forward to it.
Dave, you mentioned at the beginning you thought it's a pretty good tie. Any more thoughts?
Yeah, well, I was actually doing a bit for the for Radio Cumbria's weekend review show, kind of like live reaction to the draw and stuff. And they were reading out the names, Swindon and Borehamwood and Peterborough. And, no disrespect to them places, actually, I'll rephrase that. Every disrespect to those places. I really don't want to go to Boreham Wood again. Peterborough absolutely holds no joy. There was a cavalcade of places being reeled out that it just seemed like one of them crap town websites or crap day out websites that sometimes do the rounds on social media. And I know, let's be honest, not many people sit there and hope for Barra away in the FA Cup. But they were reading all these names out, and I was thinking, I've got to control myself so that I don't swear on air and let people down. But I'm not Paul Simpson. I don't swear live on the radio. I know how to conduct myself. So I just kind of said, yeah, that'll do. Yeah, we'll take Wigan. Should be a good game. And yeah, let's see what happens. It's not one to fear, is it? It's not one of those, hope we can keep the score down, sort of games. And, if we go and attack them and, put them under pressure, yeah, I think by the sounds of it, their fan base isn't the happiest at the minute. League One, mid tables, perhaps thin gruel compared to what they've been used to. If they hadn't seen such riches, they could live with being poor, couldn't they? But if the fans that came when they were in the Premier League and winning the FA Cup are maybe not quite as accepting as bobbing along mid-table League One compared to some of the old campaigners. Just in terms of drawing Wigan in the cup, one of my favourite FA Cup memories, ironically, was when we got beat 4-0 at home. There was lots of fuss pre-match about the three amigos and these exotic Spanish players that were going to turn up. And then it turned out that the guy who scored the hat-trick was a lad from Barra called Tony Black. But walking back down Holker Street after the game, there was us on one side, there was Wigan on the other, and there was, a line of police in the middle. And this Wigan fan who's obviously buoyed up after the win and, full of pie-based carbohydrates and was, really giving it Wigan, as they say. And he burst out from the segregation in an attempt to reach our side. And there was a police Alsatian caught him mid-flight, locked jaw on the crown jewels, and had him in a screaming heap. I think it was just before where the Legion is. There should be a plaque. It was a beautiful moment. And I can still hear the screams as, that Alsatian was, giving the crowd control its best efforts. And, funny what springs to mind when you're watching an FA Cup draw on a cold Monday night, isn't it?
Do you reckon he went into quick save and straight into the frozen food section straight away, trying to attend to his gonads?
I was going to say as well, you should speak to Steve about his Barra 125 Heritage Tour. He can get that blue plaque organised. But what year was that now?
I was 19. Was it 1994, 95? It was when Vaughan was in charge, and we had a gap where the main stand is now. Basically, the old main stand had been knocked down, and nothing had happened. And then the week before the Wigan Cup game, whether it was because there was press attention or not, all of a sudden the skeleton of the stand just appeared. And I think I'm right in thinking, God, the memory banks are going now. I think the round before we'd played Nuneaton and we'd got a draw. Did we get a draw away and bring them back? Oh, no. I think we beat them first time. And Jimmy Brown got himself, I think it was Brawl of the Week or something like that. I think he's kind of stomped over with his Deirdre Barlow haircut and stamped on someone again in a sensitive area. It was a very testicle related cup run, that one, that season, if all the years are aligning correctly.
Yeah, sounds like a good feature we can get in the podcast, that Brawl of the Week.
Yeah, I'll have to keep it for the Patreon. I think it might be a bit X-rated.
Yeah, and just on a more serious note, in terms of, you mentioned there that I think there's a chance for this tie. It's one of them for me. If we go out, at least we had a decent away day in the cup. Like you say, it could be MK Dons away, it could be Walsall away, it could be Swindon or anything like that, which would be absolutely dreadful. But I think we go there with a pretty decent chance. I mean, looking at some of their comments after that Hemel-Hempstead game, like one guy was just basically apologetic and going on about the kind of replay controversy, not getting rid of it, saying how much Hemel-Hempstead deserve that replay. So they sort of scraped through that last round, and I don't think it sounds like their fans are too enthusiastic about playing us. So hopefully we can take advantage of that. There's a few sort of connections, isn't there? Scott Smith, obviously Fraser, was there. A lot of their fans saying, they're kind of worried about seeing him again, but he can't really get off the bench for us at the moment, can he? So, and then of course, to bring us into our next point, Rob Kelly was recently at Wigan. You mentioned him before, and now he is no longer. He's moved on to pastures new. Do you think that's a problem? We seem to be sort of revitalised since he's come back. How much do you think that's going to impact us?
That's a good question, because it's no coincidence that the turnaround has coincided with Kelly being about. And I have to say, I eat my own words in terms of saying that Kelly wasn't brought in by Andy Wing when he absolutely was, and there was a bit of sort of conspiracy sort of theories going on at the time. It was just basically a load of nonsense. But no, I mean, maybe we go on from here and Wing is sort of, I don't know, benefited from having Kelly alongside him and can go on, and he now backs himself and he's confident, or everything. Rob Kelly was in fact doing everything and the whole thing falls apart, which I don't think will happen, touch wood. It's a shame. I watched him partake in the warm-up on Saturday, and he's like really, really, like, you can tell the lad just absolutely love him. He's super infused. You can tell he just loves being on the grass rather than like doing the management stuff. But I'm presuming he's off to Reading to join his mate Liam Richardson. So he's landed a better paid gig.
I think it's a case as well of it was an extra pair of hands and an extra voice, wasn't it? Because I think most clubs now have an array of coaches, and we're back down to Messrs Wing and Pede, aren't we? So I presume we'll be looking to bring someone in sharpish to help lighten the load. And Andy Wing kind of said that when he first came in that Rob Kelly was saying the same things as what they'd been saying, so it kind of gave him that reassurance that actually, I am on the right track, because it was probably the first kind of real tricky spell in his managerial career, so it probably did him some good to kind of have that older, more mature voice, that experience to lean on and say, look, this is what we're trying to do. Is this the right way? Are we going the right? What do you suggest? And by the sounds of it, Kelly was just like, well, yeah, what you're doing is the right thing. Just, whether it needs a tweak or whether, we've mentioned it a few times on the podcast, it's getting your better players back out onto the pitch. And, again, it's the upturn in form. Yes, it's coincided with Rob Kelly being on the staff, but it's also coincided with us having more key players on the pitch. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a replacement in quick. I'm not sure how much notice or how much of an inkling we had about getting a replacement, but football's a small industry, isn't it? I'm sure the WhatsApps have been whirring away, and we'll be looking to bring someone in fairly soon.
Cool. And on that note, let's move ourselves on to the upcoming game and check the answer machine to see if anybody's left us a message.
Hello, you've reached the offices of Given Beans. All our beans operatives are busy getting it forward at the moment. Please leave your message after the beep.
Hi, it's Alex from the DN35 podcast, here for all your Grimsby Town needs, but vastly, to be honest, all we talk about is service stations for away games and fish and chip shops. Am I looking forward to playing at Barra? I'll be honest, Barra, I don't know if you know this, but as a man of Grimsby, we have similar reputations to live up to. No one likes visiting us, and the Grimsby fans don't like visiting you. Not only do we tend to get spanked, but last time I think the vast majority of away fans got norovirus from the Weatherspoons, so they were spent most of the game in the toilet, which, given the old away end at your place, probably had a better view of the pitch. You guys have always been a bit of a bogey team for us. It is going to be a challenge, and it'll be interesting to see if the team we've got are capable of matching that. It is always a game that we struggle to get anything from. So if we do, at least in our heads, we'll have felt like we're starting to overcome tougher fixtures. Harrogate's another one as well. It's going to be an interesting one. This is the first league game we've played in quite a while. I don't know if you've noticed this season, but we beat Manchester United, so we're still in the League Cup until we got battered by Brentford. But we've had League Cup, FA Cup and the Tin Pot Trophy this week before we've played another league game. So quite a lot of time has passed since we've been able to get back in and focusing on the league. We were 45 minutes away from making the playoffs, so the expectation this year is to match that and to get into the playoffs. Everything at the moment suggests we have that opportunity, and maybe even more. We're playing some great stuff, but it's very much, we are very aware that we're not necessarily the finished article. We've still got a few weaknesses. I'm not going to tell you them, but there are, we've got 2 or 3 players that if they're not necessarily at the top of their game, that we're not the free-flowing football that we've been lucky enough to see this year. Barra is a really good sort of test of what our team are capable of. You guys always give us something to think about. So looking forward to the challenge, looking forward to getting back in the league, and hopefully no one gets sick this year. So that would be the massive bonus. But looking forward to it. See you all there. Bye.
Yeah, nice one there to Alex from the DN35 podcast. Quite a lot to go at there. I had a bit of a chat with him on WhatsApp as well when he sent over his message. Because believe it or not, we don't actually have an answer machine. It's all done in post-production. Sorry to spoil the illusion there, Spillin the Beans fans. But he mentioned about the kind of comparables between, Grimsby and Barra, and I've always thought this myself. In fact, I've got quite a lot of friends from Grimsby and really good pals with the band Orphan Boy, who are a really good band from there. Check them out if you've never heard them, but I know a lot of people within the Barra fan base will have. And yeah, it's like that type of similar place where nobody outside of these areas tends to have anything good to say about it. And I've always tried to sort of challenge that a little bit when people you do the usual slurs against Grimsby, because they'd easily say the same things about Barrow. And yeah, it's quite interesting what you were saying about the game as well. I mean, we've beaten them now, I think, the last 3. They've been going well this season. Obviously had that big win against United in the League Cup that everybody is aware of. But yeah, I mean, what's your kind of thoughts, Dave, on Grimsby and the game as a whole?
I've got a lot of time for Grimsby. As you say, they're kind of a similar, come from a similar sort of area to us, kind of what other people would judge to be outposts. Obviously, depends where you start from as to whether somewhere's an outpost, doesn't it, really? But they support their team really well. They get a good percentage of their kind of home population gets along to Blundell Park, and their away support's usually fantastic. Especially down south, they take some good numbers. Like us, they kind of rely on exiles to a certain degree, but they usually travel in good number. They're having a good season, top scorers in the league. They've got some really good players. Kieran Green, Charles Vernon, Jamie Walker, Danny Rose. They've got plenty of players. When you look through the team sheet, you think, oh yeah, wouldn't mind him playing for us. I think with Artell in charge, they've definitely got a philosophy manager, and I think when he took the job, he wanted a job that was where he was part of a philosophy rather than kind of being appointed and said, right, you're in charge, you do the philosophy stuff. And I think that they've got an interesting, he was the chairman, a fellow called Jason Stockwood. I think he's taken up a position in government, and he's written some really good columns in the Guardian if anyone wants to kind of search them out about, the roles that football clubs play in the community and, in areas like Grimsby in terms of being a focus of community pride and stuff like that. Going back to Artell, I think the way that he plays the game, he's very much, pass it out from the back and quite happy to put together 47 passes to get over the halfway line and that sort of thing. And I think it's the sort of game where I know we get frustrated as a home crowd sometimes where, there's a guy who stands behind me who takes it as a personal insult if we don't have 99% possession. But I think it's the sort of game where on Saturday we will sit back and say, right, you can have it as much as you want in your own half. You can maybe, get 10, 15 yards into our half, but after that, we're going to close you down. We're going to take the ball off you and we're going to counter attack. And, it was Wings' first game last season, wasn't it? Where, we beat them 3-0. Obviously, we won at their spot when Clements was in charge, And I think it'll be that sort of game. I think we'll sit back and let them have the ball and, look to hit them on the counters. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game because obviously, we're in a decent run of form. So they'll be kind of coming into it thinking, it's not just a matter of turning up and, we're in the playoffs and these lads are bottom half. So, we should, if we put on a professional performance, we'll win. So yeah, it should be an interesting game and hopefully we'll get a decent crowd there to watch it.
I largely agree with what Dave said, to be honest. I don't want to blow too much smoke up Grimsby's backsides. I mean, probably the only thing they'll be smoking there is variety of fish products. But it was no, I do like them. They are likable. Dave Artell is like the chattering classes love him. Like, he plays progressive football. He did have to do a bit of, I think when he first joined, he had to do a bit of soul searching there to try and stabilise the club, and they had a season or two of mad results, but they look really good now. I've got them sort of, I don't think there's a standout team in the league, but I think there's 5 or 6 that are probably arguably better than those below them. So Walsall, NK, Chesterfield, Swindon, maybe Salford. I think Grimsby are very much sort of in that contention. That obviously, the nation's sweethearts after dumping Man United out of the FA Cup, and it'd be good to welcome our old friend Tyrrell Warren back if he's available. I don't know if he's been playing much recently, but reinvented as a centre half. And when he was here, he did have the occasional eye for goal, which I don't know if we really. I remember seeing him score in that horror show away at Salford and being right behind it, but I don't know if we ever really utilised. I don't know if we deployed him in the same way we deployed Lewis Shipley or deployed Theo Vassell last season to great effect. But no, I'm sure he'll get a nice welcome back.
Yeah, someone else who might get a nice welcome back is they've got Sam Lavelle is back to fitness. So yeah, keep an eye on him and his Instagram after the game if he's anything like the Carlisle game at the back end of last season.
Oh, God, yeah, I've had to bring that up with him actually because that was an absolute. In terms of the ability to have the last laugh, that was fantastic. That was another going back to the FA Cup thing as well because that's another interesting point. They've got Blackpool away, haven't they, Carlisle? So there's potential that we also travel from Barra to Wigan via Preston, and I was going from Carlisle to Blackpool, but it's very unlikely. I imagine it'll be on the same day.
Other games thrown in the mix as well. I think I can't remember who it is, but some rather tasty ties.
Fleetwood are at home, aren't they? And Preston are at home. So yeah,
did Fleetwood get Luton? I think did they?
Yeah,
yeah, and also I think Morecambe Fylde. That was another one on the same day. So yeah. Also, welcome back to Grimsby. It's the Michael Jolly derby as well. I remember one time I was on a train back from Barrow, and I think they were playing Morecambe, and ended up with a lot of Grimsby fans travelling back from Morecambe to Manchester, that sort of direction. And I've said this before, I think I even said it when I was on the social with Adam, just trying to get confirmation from somebody, maybe the DN35 guys can help us out. But the rumour that Michael Jolly should have been in the Twin Towers the day of September 11th. And it doesn't seem to be far from the realms of possibility, because if you go to his Wikipedia, wasn't he some kind of finance guy or something? He started off like that. Is that Fraser?
Yeah,
you normally know these types of quirks. Any insights in there? Can you confirm Jolly's presence on September 11th?
I think he was. I don't know if there's been like completely conclusive evidence, but I think there's enough out there to confirm he was working in and around the World Trade Center at the time on that day. Sorry, I was just going to do a link. The vice president of the United States, who was Dick Cheney at the time, has passed away as of today. Completely irrelevantly. It goes back to...
We're not accusing Michael Jolly of anything. No. I think to be fair to Jolly, I think Steve obviously contributed to the podcast and the fanzine, and obviously was on the board at the time. And I'm sure he's told me that Jolly's interview was absolutely fantastic. He was prepared. He had, our our squad had been analysed to the nth degree, had his transfers kind of lined up, and it was really mind-blowing, the kind of detail that he went into as to how he was going to change things and what a jolly team was going to look like. And then he got the job and he completely ballsed it up. I think, did we end up playing something like 4 right-backs against Salford away or something ridiculous, or some team? And it's just, I think at the time the hierarchy were like, hang on a minute, we were promised this and we've got this. And, to be fair, they acted fairly quickly, didn't they? And potted him.
He properly deceived. Like, he really wooed them, I think. Really sort of, I don't know, Steve can confirm or deny whether Michael Jolly seduced him in the interview panel, but that's, probably shouldn't go there, but, no.
I was going to say, yeah, the less, they get a legal team on us here, the less said about him and his seducing.
I think we could do a whole podcast episode or a whole Given Beans, long read on what on earth happened when he was in charge, and those players who were ostracised and then they came back, and Rob Kelly cleaned up the mess. And yeah, what a really strange time that was.
Sort of Grimsby related as well. I think at the same time Paul Hurst was in for the job, and by the sounds of it, he's got a really kind of individual approach to interviews where he sits there with looking as though he's about to go off to five-a-side, a bit like myself at the minute, and he almost tries to give the impression off that he's too busy, and he's doing you a favour by granting you 5 minutes of his precious time, and he's almost like, he's doing his Astro boots up by saying, yeah, sign him and do that and get rid of him and change that. I've heard from a few people who've kind of got insight into various football clubs that seems to be his modus operandi when it comes to interviews. It kind of try and present himself as being, out of your league, and you should be grateful. And I think we swerved him, and quite rightly.
I think he was well liked there, wasn't he, Paul Hurst? He was a bit of a.
I think so. Was it Hurst and Scott? Did they call them Shorty and Shouty or something like that? There was a bit of a double act. And did they take him up when they got back into the Football League? Is that right?
Something like that. And then Hurst came back on his own, I think.
Yeah, went off to Shrewsbury or something, then came back to Grimsby,
and then went back to Shrewsbury again.
I was frantically searching for his Wikipedia page there, but either have not spelled that right or he doesn't seem to have one. So the job there for somebody if they want to manage Paul Hurst's Wikipedia page. So if any Grimsby fans are listening, they jump at the chance. But yeah, just to wrap things up there then, we mentioned last week as well that the fanzine is finally here, or it should be here. It should be in transit as we speak and available this weekend. So look out for the bean sellers, notably Punks and Big Red Steve Aberdeen. Loads of great stuff in there. Dave, you contributed with a nice piece around diversifying revenue streams. Sounds serious.
Yeah, it's a laugh a minute piece, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've been speaking quite a bit about Barra 125. It's got a really good introduction to that, as well as fanzine focus from North Ferriby United as well. We had Manchester United, red issue, I think, last time. This time it's The View from the Allotment End, the tale of the North Ferriby fanzine, and loads of stuff on. There's even things about local wrestling, events, and the usual shenanigans you can expect from Punk. So yeah, make sure you grab that. For those who are at the game on Saturday, you can pick that up online from Sunday, and it should be available probably next weekend as well. Yeah, so grab it while it's there. They are pretty much selling out, or they're thereabouts every issue now, which is great. So thanks for your support as always on that one. Dave, in your other business news, you wanted to mention the AGM this Saturday.
Yeah, it's a big day for democracy on Saturday. There's 2 AGMs happening. There is the National Supporters Club AGM at 11 o'clock, which I believe will be attended by at least one director, and I think Andy Wing's going to come and do a bit of a talk. That's in the crossbar. And then after that, it's the Bluebirds Trust AGM, and I don't think there's anything of world-shattering importance to be voted on, but it's the sort of meeting where we need a decent turnout to be able to be quorate, so that everything can be passed and approved, and all the nuts and bolts of AGM admin can be done. And again, obviously Fraser will be there, club director, the the trust's representative on the board, and it's a decent opportunity to not only ask a few questions, but I think it's something I try to do every year and just kind of reflect on what a good job the trust does, and also what a good job the fan base does in supporting the trust. In terms of membership, in terms of money raised, I know like last summer when Morecambe were, having their little situation, and I was getting loads of messages saying, "Oh well, how did you lot do it?" And some of the numbers I was pulling out in terms of the money that the fans put in and still put in, week in, week out, season in, season out, and it absolutely blew their minds. And they're thinking, well, we'd get nowhere near that. I'm thinking, well, no, because we're a better fan base than you, so it's obvious. But I think
as you were going through that, I thought, when's the punchline on this Morecambe thing going to come? So you got there in the end.
We were on about 1,200 members last season for a humdrum, nothing much happening League Two season, and they were in kind of staring down the barrel of going out of existence, and I think they got to just about 700, and they've disappeared again now that the new owners have come in. I think probably it'll be a few months and we'll hear a lot more from the Morecambe Trust in terms of ownership. But yeah, I think we do need to, we're quite self-critical as a fan base, and we're quick to jump on things that we do badly. And I think sometimes it's good to say, do you know what, we do that really well as a fan base. The way that the trust and by extension the fan base puts their hand in the pocket for the ownership for the 10% every year. It's a good thing that we do. So yeah, come along on Saturday, get involved, vote on the various motions, have a pint, have a crack, and then watch the match. Oh, other thing on the trust, the buses, the Bromley bus needs, I think it's 17 bookings so that it can go. So if you can get to Bromley and you were running an hour in, please put your name down for that. And also I think the Newport bus is on sale, and I'm sure as soon as the Wigan details come out, there'll be buses going to Wigan as well. So support the trust.
Yeah, and if you pick up a fanzine this weekend as well, there's a page showing how to sponsor the bus. I think it's £1 a mile in it for every trip. There's still quite a few sponsorships left. So yeah, anything you can do, as Dave says, just to get behind some of these initiatives, some of these groups within the club is always appreciated, no matter how big or small. So yeah, when you mentioned Fraser, by the way, Dave, as well, we're not talking about this Fraser here. He's not allowed anywhere near the board. No,
we'd never let him near the seat of power. By God, no.
Fraser with a Z, I'm Fraser with an S. Although, yeah, a disproportionate amount of Frasers in and around Barra.
You want to try having the same name as a director? When Dave Ingham was on the board, and I used to post on the forum under my real name, some of the messages I used to get reveals that as I say, we've got a great fan base, but there are some nutters who walk amongst us with some very strange ideas about how football clubs are run and what directors do. So yeah, a bit of an eye opener, that one.
I think there's another potential fanzine piece there, Dave's inbox on the forum from the mid-90s. Cool. Nice one, guys. Anyway, thanks for your time. And yeah, on to this Saturday. And hopefully we continue what is this kind of monumental unbeaten run at the moment. I don't think we probably mentioned that enough. We've gone, how many games now? Is it 7? Is it 7 or? If we include the Notts Forest game, what's that got to be, sort of 8 games unbeaten, is it?
Oh, quite a few at least.
Come on, we can do better than this. We should know this.
I think it's 6 or 7.
It's quite a lot anyway. So let's hope it continues in some vein or form. So yeah, Dave, Fraser, nice one. See you again soon.
Cheers, Danny. Bye now.
Got moved round here from a northern town.